By thinking of all sentient beings as more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel for accomplishing the highest aim, I will always hold them dear. Whenever I'm in the company of others, I will regard myself as the lowest among all, and from the depths of my heart, cherish others as supreme. In my every action, I will watch my mind, and the moment destructive emotions arise, I will confront them strongly and avert them, since they will hurt both me and others. Whenever I see ill-natured beings or those overwhelmed by heavy misdeeds or suffering, I will cherish them as something rare, as though I'd found a priceless treasure. Whenever someone out of envy does me wrong by attacking or belittling me, I will take defeat upon myself and give the victory to others. Even when someone I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me very unjustly, I will view that person as a true spiritual leader. In brief, directly or indirectly, I will offer help and happiness to all my mothers and secretly take upon myself all their hurt and suffering. I will learn to keep all these practices untainted by thoughts of the 8 worldly concerns. May I recognize all things as like illusions and, without attachment, gain freedom from bondage. We will observe noble silence before service begins. At this time, I'd like to invite up our incense lighters. And inside of your books, you will find the incense offering. And together we say, in gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Good morning, everyone. Couple of service announcements before service begins. First of all, welcome if this is your first time at the temple, or if you haven't been here in a while. It's just great to see this place filling up, especially on such an auspicious day as the Buddha's parinirvana. So if you have small children or you need to use any of our facilities, there's restrooms just on the other side of that wall. There's a water fountain downstairs. Please help yourself to anything that you need. We're here to make you feel comfortable, and just let us know if you need anything. On the back, if you can, try to keep from walking across the front. We've got viewers online, so we want to make sure to keep this available for them to be able to see. So just walking along the back. And then when we chant, breathe life into it. I'll try and pick up the tempo a little bit. It's joyful. We're here not because it's this solemn, worshiping of a Buddha. We're here to learn how to become Buddhas ourselves. So bring some joy into your practice. Don't think that it has to be this solemn, serious thing. Like we're meant to laugh like that guy over there, Bodhi. Okay? So let's go ahead and stand up and say good morning to one another. And if you will turn to page 7 in your booklets. Good call.
Three refuges.
I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. And on the next page, we have the Heart Sutra, or the Maha Prajnaparamita Hridaya Sutra. The Maha Prajna Paramita Hridaya Sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion, from the deep practice of Prajna Paramita
perceived the emptiness of all five skandhas, and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness. No eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. No form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind. No realm of sight. No realm of consciousness. No ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance. No old age and death, nor extinction of them. No suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantram, the utmost supreme mantram, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Prajna, paramita, hridaya, sutra.
Okay. My teacher taught me to examine the room and look around before I teach any kind of Dharma as a way of connecting with all of the Buddhas in the room. So today's a celebration of the Buddha's parinirvana, which is the day that he left this world and passed on into final nirvana. And the last words that he said were, "Spiritual friends, this is the last advice I have for you. All compounded things are subject to change. Nothing lasts forever. Work towards enlightenment with joyful effort." And immediately after his parinirvana, there were a lot of other spiritual leaders that went on to repeat this same teaching. Everything is subject to change. All things are impermanent. And in my studies, I've found that this is one of the most beautiful, most profound teachings of the Buddha. In the very moment of his physical body's death, his mind fully engrossed in this pure source of compassion and love, he reminds all of us who are still lost in this trap of samsara the most important truth. All things are impermanent. Physical, emotional, mental, all observable events, all phenomena. If you were to know any of the Buddhist teachings that could be that raft towards enlightenment, this is it. This is the one. So why is this all you need to know? It's kind of depressing, right? Everything's impermanent. It's all going to be gone. Or is it all going to transform? So our minds, especially for those of us who are not Buddhas yet, we perceive existence through this view of the skandhas, or what's known as the aggregates. These are 5 elements that sum up of an individual's mental and physical existence. And you may be familiar, because we just chanted this in the Heart Sutra, consisting of forms, sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and thoughts meaning mental activity or past influences that create present moment karmas, and consciousness. And even though we go about our days, again, for those of us who aren't Buddhas yet, we subconsciously think of these things as being permanent. Okay, you're convinced that the problem that you're experiencing, well, that's the problem. It's not coming from you. It's outside of you, right? So our idea of, and we call this the little self, the little s self. So if you think of the word self, little s self. This little f self has an incredibly talented way of putting this veil over the big S self, or the all-encompassing self. So my question is, how do we challenge this very mind that subconsciously holds us back? And I'm going to tell you a story that I recently experienced with one of my dance students. I'm an Irish dance teacher in the real world, for those of you who don't know. And one of my students, I was demonstrating how to accurately produce quality sound on the floor with your shoes. And, of course, I've been dancing for 30 years now. So I know a thing or two, and I've been teaching for about 18 of those years. And my dance student looks at me and she goes, "Well, your shoes are louder." And I'm like, "Give me your shoes. I'll make the same sound." And she knows that she's just being smart, and she knows that she can produce this herself. And she knows that it's hard and it's challenging. But see, we have this immediate response to think that, oh no, it's everything else that's the problem. It's not me. It's everything outside of me. So how do we fix this? How do we approach it? What do we do? The Buddha taught it. In fact, he's doing it right now. You meditate. I'm not going to call anybody out today. I was really tempted to say, so who in here has a daily practice? Because we all know that it's tough living a lay life. to maintain that kind of practice, but we do our best. So this tool is one of the most important tools that you can move your mind towards a liberated state. And yes, living a lay life can make this feel impossible. This really is the only way that you can truly free the mind. In my past experience, I've told myself, well, I can read all these books and I can read the articles and I can listen to the talks that are given online by the, Dalai Lama or Ajahn Brahm or Thich Nhat Hanh, and I'll become enlightened. I don't have to meditate. I can do all these other things. Surely this is going to bring me closer to enlightenment. And in the Tibetan tradition, we believe that, yes, those things do plant good karmas. We do. We're doing good things to encourage ourselves to move towards a mind that can fulfill this practice of meditation. But sometimes those karmas, those everyday meditation karmas, haven't ripened yet. So we have to keep planting them by listening to talks, by reading books, by doing the things like coming to temple on Sunday. That's how we plant those karmas to eventually have those ripen as a beautiful meditation practice. So when we think that things won't change, or when we think that, oh yeah, I'll do all this other things, I don't have to meditate. We're trying to force our experience to be permanent. If we check all the boxes that say don't meditate, we're thinking, oh, it's permanent. I can do this without the thing that I really need to do to gain enlightenment. And our ego has this fascinating way of trying to convince us that the illusion is real. That this is permanent. And this investigation of questioning ourselves can be really challenging. There's things that are going to come up for you that you're like, whoa, hang on a second. I'm not so sure about this. And that's why if you haven't practiced planting these seeds of compassion and of loving kindness, our minds can turn towards a sense of feeling guilty or feeling grief. But you've got to start somewhere. You've got to be able to recognize that those seeds are there and that you can do something about it. You have a choice. And in meditation, the way that we do that is by returning to our breath whenever we get distracted. That is why the breath is the foundation of our habit. So our little S self mind doesn't want things to change. It likes the way things are. Why put in more work? Especially when things are good, right? Things are great. My life is wonderful. I'm not experiencing suffering. At least right now you aren't. And for me, it took me a while to develop a really healthy daily practice. And right now I'm in this 100-day meditation challenge, and we're on I think it's day 42 or 43 now. And we're just like constantly encouraging each other to like create and maintain this habit. And it's been really great to see what comes up for other people's minds. But something else that can help you develop this practice, for those of you who don't know, we offer precept classes. We also offer bodhisattva classes, and that's another really great way to like inject some motivation into your practice. Can I get a show of hands for any of my bodhisattva students who are here? Yeah, and all bodhisattvas. Why not? Awesome. So that is how we work on continuing to grow this practice. And so shamatha, or single-pointed concentration meditation, which is focusing on the breath, that's why they say to start with that. Meditation isn't just sitting down or saying mantras. And some of you may have even heard the advice of try not to think. That's not what meditation is. It's really so much more than that. It's incredible what you can do to change your mind. When I sit my butt in this cushion, it gives me the opportunity to observe how my mind works. It gives me the opportunity to see how my mind behaves when I'm not looking. It's noticing this rising and falling of behaviors and then taking personal responsibility for our experience and choosing to do something about it. When we do something about it, we're working on seeing the emptiness of our perceptions. Who is really the one that is experiencing this? Is it outside of you or is it inside of you? There's a story of a monk who was a prisoner of war for 10 years. And when he came out the other side of it, he appeared to be even more compassionate and more loving than those who knew him before. And his friends asked him, like, how'd you do it? How'd you get through it? And he said, well, when I saw all the guards that were there that were experiencing so much pain and so much suffering, I knew that my practice was dedicated to them. And so every day, that's how he practiced. He practiced by giving his compassion, generosity, patience to others. And what I think is one of the most beautiful things about meditation is that it's like discovering these secret parts of yourself that you didn't know have always been there. And the more that we return to this sitting practice, the more that we can watch it manifest in the real world. Talk about magic. We have this ability to transform parts of us that usually perceive a painful experience and instead replace it with this response of our choosing. And personally, I like to fill it with one that is very blissful. When we have this solid foundation of focus on the breath, we can practice on other objects of meditation. There is developing unconditional love with loving kindness or metta practice, developing compassion with Tonglen, which is known as giving and receiving. You can practice patience with Lojong, which we did this morning. All of these are vehicles of insight or analytical meditation. And as your practice grows, you can continue to build this muscle of awareness for your mind and how it perceives the world. Watch what it's trying to do when you aren't looking. Eventually, as we pursue this challenge of directly perceiving emptiness, maybe someday you will be able to and completely live that way. That's one of the goals, I guess, right? So for those of you who haven't taken the 10 Bodhisattva precepts or any kind of Bodhisattva vows before, I'm sorry, for those of you who have taken Bodhisattva precepts or our class, you understand that when you make this wish for enlightenment, you are wishing to put an end to suffering for all beings. That's the goal here. We're doing this together. We all got to get in the same boat and make our way to enlightenment. So what we're doing by making those commitments is we are committing to become the doctors of this realm, to cure every sickness, to heal every pain. And when we make this wish, we're actively choosing to transform this place in our mind of a Buddha's paradise so that we can show other people how to do it too. Just imagine if you had the capabilities to transform the heart of every dictator. Imagine if you could save every houseless animal, every houseless being. Imagine if you could remove division between neighbors. What better wish could there be? And this is the birthplace, the fuel, the motivation for our practice. It springs from understanding where our world is actually coming from and knowing that we can help others realize this too. So the Buddha's entire life from entering his life on this earth as a prince named Siddhartha, to his awakening, to his passing away from this earthly plane. He was a living example of these teachings. He demonstrated their very truths in every action, in every word, and in every thought. This lifetime of his, that was his swan song. It was his statement to the universe and beyond, that showing us what our minds are capable of doing. And he wanted to show that every single person, no matter their caste, no matter their religious beliefs, their race, their sexuality, or any other kind of separating perception, everyone has the ability to become a Buddha within them. But it's up to you to pursue this understanding. I can't do it for you. I'm just a body in a robe on a dais spouting Dharma. You got to do it. Your job can't do it for you. Your family can't do it for you. We can hold your hand and support you, but you got to do it. Only through experience can this be realized. And in a way, the practice that the Buddha presented to us are the directions to lead yourself to the most beautiful experience that you could ever imagine. Some of you might be thinking, well, there's still war in the world, poverty, violence, hate. How could that be a beautiful experience? It has to start within each of us. So I'd like to share a quote from Kosho Yamamoto, who is a well-known Buddhist scholar in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. And he cites this passage in which the Buddha urgently encourages his monks not to get attached to the idea of the non-self, but to meditate on the big S self. We often talk about no self, but, again, we're pulling back layers here. What's the point of recognizing no self? Having dwelt upon the nature of nirvana, the Buddha now expands its positive aspects and says that nirvana has the 4 attributes of the eternal, bliss, the big self, and the pure. And the Buddha says, "O you bhikshus, do not abide in the thought of the non-eternal, sorrow, non-self, and the not pure, and have things as in the case of those people who take the stones, wooden pieces, and gravel for the true gem of the Dharma. In every situation, constantly meditate upon the idea of the big S self, the idea of the eternal, bliss, and the pure. Those who, desirous of attaining reality, big R reality, meditatively cultivate these ideas, namely the idea of the big S self, or the true, eternal, everlasting self. The eternal, bliss, and the pure will skillfully bring forth the jewel, just like the wise person." And so that's the truest version of ourselves, this face of who we are before we were born. This is that realization that we work towards so that we can experience the most blissful lifetime. So that we can come to temple on Sundays. We can consume all of these let me say that again. You can come to temple on Sundays. You can read books. You can consume the teachings. But what are we really doing for each other to bring ourselves closer to nirvana? As we prepare ourselves for meditation, the thing that I would like you to focus on, or encourage you to focus on, you don't have to. I mean, if you're sitting and breathing and just trying to get rid of all the nonsense in your head is what you got to do that. But if you would like something to focus on, my encouragement to you is to think about who was the face before you were born. Prepare yourselves for meditation. As a reminder, remember to sit up on your seat bones, hips slightly higher than your knees. Shoulders should be level with the floor, relaxed. Imagine that your pelvis is like a bowl and it's slightly tipped forward. If you're sitting in a chair, try to put your feet flat if you can on the floor. to support your posture. That helps your hips, because if your legs are crossed, you're actually creating an imbalance there. Shoulders back just slightly. Spine, each vertebrae stacked, each one on top of the other. Soften that area between the brows. The tongue should be resting at the roof of the mouth where the teeth meet. And if you haven't already, close your eyes. Who was the face before you were born? Before we exit this meditation, take this moment to mentally rejoice in what you've just done, in the work that you are putting into your mind for the benefit of all beings. By celebrating, we strengthen this habit as a means of knowing that every time we sit down to do this, we're doing good things. Rejoice. Please rejoice and celebrate yourself. A mental high five. Maybe even your own parade. You can build anything in your mind. But do it with honesty. Do it with intention. We bow. Marking the beginning of where we share our joys and concerns. And I'd like to share a joy. I found myself a teacher and someone that I'm thrilled to be learning from as I continue my path on the Dharma.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shane. I have a concern. My dear friend, Jay Plyburn, his father had a heart attack and is having an open heart surgery today. And I just asked for any prayers, metta, good thoughts going towards his father.
Good morning. I'd like to share a joy. Yesterday, I'm a guiding light. Yesterday, I got to have my mom come in and not only cut the guy's hair, but she also offered a crystal singing bowl session with everyone. So she got to share not only my spiritual journey, but with the guys in the group and the community. And it brought a great joy to my heart and to the guys at the program. So I'm just really grateful to share that experience.
I was staring at the floor.
Looking in the wrong direction, Chango.
Good morning. My name is Joey, and I have a joy. I've been looking for a job for a couple months now, and at times it's been frustrating and slightly discouraging. But I start a new job tomorrow. I get to work with my buddy John here, so that's cool too. And yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
Is there anything online? All right, let's go ahead and hold some space for those joys and concerns. Temple related announcements. All right, let me get my papers organized. So February announcements, we have our Grand Rapids Buddhist Temple board meeting on Sunday, February 18th, following service at 11:30 to 1. You can join in temple or via Google Meet. Sangha members are invited to observe if you're interested in what's going on. Today is the potluck, if you weren't aware. So we have food and tea and things downstairs for us to hang out and congregate and talk to one another and get to know one another if we haven't yet, and just celebrate this incredible person, enlightened being who brought us these teachings. We have an intermediate meditation class coming up on Saturday, February 24th from 9 to noon, and it's here at the temple. Registration ends on Friday, February 23rd. You can contact Reverend Kunga for more information, or just reach out to somebody online. We have an online meditation group that meets on Wednesdays from 7 to 7:45, and we're on Zoom. Anybody can come. It's a great way if you're trying to like have a daily practice, like another day during the week to come and sit and meditate with fellow practitioners. Thursday, we have a Dharma discussion group.